first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. We are going directly to that shot. I mean, with the holiday coming up, we have to go to the ski bowl camera, actually showing snow coming down on the mountain right now. That is a good sign for everybody. And because of the holiday coming up, I've been told I'm contractually obligated to wear this hat for this segment. So I'm doing it. I'm doing my job for that. Hello, I am Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now. We are live streaming on our social media channels, on our apps, and our website. So appreciate everybody joining us there. And we have something really special we're going to be talking about right now. So the Portland Youth Philharmonic Orchestra is celebrating its 100th year. And on Tuesday, they've got their 62nd annual Christmas concert coming up. And to talk all about it, joining us right now, we have David Hattner, the musical director. David, thank you very much for joining us here today. Really, really appreciate that and appreciate you being a part of the show. And I guess to start off, could we talk about this 100 years? That's incredible.
Thank you, Greg. It's really is an amazing story, this little orchestra that has managed to go for 100 consecutive seasons. You can see our exhibit at the Oregon Historical Society if you want to see old photos and a lot of interesting things. The concert started around 1961 to have December 26th be a date for the organization to display all of its talents. At that time, there were only two orchestras, the Philharmonic Orchestra and what we now call a Conservatory Orchestra, a second symphony orchestra that is a preparatory ensemble for the Philharmonic. And up until that point, that preparatory orchestra had never played in public. So that was its public debut. And since then, it's grown to have its own season. So what we have now are four main ensembles. In addition to those two orchestras, we have a string orchestra of very young players and also a wind ensemble, just like your school band. And we open the concert each year with an orchestra of alumni. This year, over 100 alumni have signed up to come back and play the Superman March by John Williams from the movie of the same name.
That's incredible. All of those people coming back to, I mean, well, number one, that you're playing the Superman March, but also having everybody come back, that shows, what kind of an influence that this has on all these students and performers that have come through.
Yes, there have only been 5 permanent conductors of the orchestra. I'm the 5th. I've been here since 2008. And once again this year, we have signed up alumni from all 5 of the previous conductors. Now, the first conductor, Jacques Gershkovich, died in 1953. So that's a real commitment for someone to come back after all those years and still just be as happy to be there as everybody else. So we'll... It's a fun meeting. We'll get together on the 23rd like we do each year and spend a few hours together trying to remember everything. And of course, we have a very inspirational piece, the Superman. Everyone loves it. And then on the 26th, we have a few minutes on stage before the concert, and then we open the show. And they've done a remarkable job every year I've conducted them, the alumni.
That is really, really cool. So back from the 40s or the 50s, whenever that person, one of those people who are going to be there, and still coming back to perform. I mean, I think speaking to that too, what is it, do you think, about this orchestra that is so important for the students and performers that come through?
Well, it's different for every individual musician, but there are a couple things. One is that classical music, and classical, we use that term sort of generically, but really what it just means is has stood the test of time, like a classic TV show or movie or novel or what have you. So some of our music is very old, hundreds of years old in some cases, often 100 years or more old. And so to the everyday colleagues of some of our musicians at their schools, they don't understand the attraction to this music, how its power speaks to them. And so when they come together for the Philharmonic rehearsals and concerts, they're with colleagues who get it, who understand why they're enthusiastic about their instrument and this music and everything about it. The other is within that, the friendships and bonds that they form with each other, which we know based on our alumni orchestra, they last a lifetime. They're very, very close because it's an intense environment. We work very hard. We're very critical of each other. And this is also a tradition. And for a lot of them, this is their prime musical experience that they're going to have in their whole life. They're not going to major in music. They're not going to become professional performers. They're going to study to be a doctor and attorney, engineer, and so they're going to have extremely stressful coursework. And they find that the intense study of music and musical performance on an instrument is a great preparation for that. So those are the main body of our players that are not going to pursue music. So they're just here to live their best musical life as a young person.
And how do they go about, I guess, how do they go about joining the orchestra? How does that work as far as outreach out to these musicians?
Yeah, it often starts with the parents. For many of them, the parents want them to have some music in their background. So maybe really before they're even 5 or 6 years old, they're maybe taking some piano lessons, which the piano is the perfect instrument to start music because it doesn't involve tone production as a strenuous thing. You know, when you think of like a beginning violinist or flute player, the horrible sounds that last for a couple of months, that doesn't happen with the piano. You start making notes right away and learning to read music. So it's a really good instrument for a foundation. And then when they start an orchestral instrument, some will start with private lessons at a young age. Others will be handed an instrument in middle school. That's certainly the case with most of our wind and brass and percussion players. They get to 6th grade and they sign up for band class and they get an instrument and then they start learning to play it. So that once that process is going, they have to play well enough to play some scales and arpeggios and a basic solo, and then they can come audition for one of our ensembles. And depending on which instrument, there are often openings at all times for some of them. And they start rehearsing with us. They understand how we want them to practice, and if they're willing to do that, there's almost no limit to what they can achieve in our organization.
How important do you think musical education like this and going through something like that is for these performers for the rest of their lives?
It gives them a frame of reference for how they overcame something that's extremely difficult by setting not just, one-day goals, but medium-term goals, 1 week, 1 month, and long-term goals that are going to last several years. If I'm willing to do this number of minutes of practice on this sort of exercise every day, a year from now, I'll be a different and better musician. That is something that, at least from what I read, that people are concerned that young people are not trusting themselves enough by setting these longer goals and really doing the daily work it takes to achieve them. In music, it's one of those time-tested values, and PYP is all about time-tested values because the instruments are the same that they were 100 years ago when the orchestra was founded. Some of the repertoire hasn't changed. So if you want to play music by Beethoven on the instruments that we use, it's the same process. It requires the same amount of practice. There are no shortcuts that have been invented in the last 100 years. So all of that is what makes music a very, very healthy activity for young people. It's intellectual, it's physical, there's language, and most importantly, there's the emotional satisfaction that playing music gives you, because everyone loves some kind of music. So that, and the last part of it is in schools, especially why schools need to support their musical programs is for the students who don't play a varsity sport, are not in the popular crowd. That music room is a refuge, and it's a place where they can feel like they really belong in their school, which can be a very cold and difficult place for a lot of people during their teenage years.
And that's so true for so many reasons. And then just even the artistic expression that you can do, creating music, you're creating something by going through that, or even if it's playing Beethoven, something that's old like that, and being able to reconstruct that and to perform that for people is just an incredible experience, I would imagine. For you, you mentioned that you're the 5th conductor in this 100 years, so that's a very select group of people. What is it for you that's kept you coming back and performing and being there conducting this for so many years?
Well, it's a lot of things, because when I started, I had no idea that it would be a commitment of this sort. A lot of what attracted me is my own background. I played the clarinet professionally before I became a conductor, so I went through this process of playing in youth orchestras, playing in wind ensembles and bands and chamber music and everything I could do, and remembering the special quality of doing them for the first time. There's nothing like the first time, and there's no feeling like what you get as a young person doing something that's really grown up. Young people want to be given adult responsibilities and treated like adults, and when you actually commit yourself to it and achieve it, it's an incredible feeling. So by proxy, I get to experience it again every year with a new group of players. It's not quite the same for me, but I get to see the light go on. And the other thing about the Portland Youth Philharmonic that many people know, everyone who has heard it at any point in its history knows, but those who haven't heard it yet may only suspect, is that it really is truly an outstanding orchestra that, when it's prepared for its performances, plays at an outstanding professional level every single year. And that is an incredible challenge that is handed to the conductor and the conducting staff to create a system that produces this, that is capable of producing it and does every single year. It's extraordinarily difficult to do. But when the new students join the orchestra each year, because some graduate, they want to have that experience. They don't want to be the group of people that didn't do the work and found themselves disappointed, because you've probably heard the expression, "Oh, young people, they'll rise to the challenge," right? They'll rise to the occasion. But the real truth is that when it comes to a musical ensemble, generally we just sink to our level of preparation. So to be assured that we're going to do this, we have to do the work, and understanding and committing to that, it's a great preparation for them going forward to understand that it really does pay off and in a really special way.
Yeah, that value of having that kind of ethic, the work ethic, but then seeing, like you mentioned, the payoff at the end, which, looking at, I'm sure there's a lot of performances, but looking at this one specifically coming up on Tuesday, the 62nd annual performance, I mean, that just in its own right is a tremendous achievement and something that keeps happening. So for those for maybe people out there who haven't gone to it before, what can people expect at something like this, at this big display that's going to be happening?
What this concert is, in addition to being a fun evening with lighter music, we don't play a lot of music associated with the holidays. Since the holidays are over, we try to get away from that. What it is a display of who the Portland Youth Philharmonic is as an organization and all the things that it has meant to people. So, like I said, we open with the alumni. So you see ages 19 to well past 80 on stage, sharing this memory of a unique experience. And then immediately after them, our youngest ensemble takes the stage. That's our Portland Youth String Ensemble, conducted by Ines Vogler-Belgique of the Oregon Symphony. And they are showing what the future of the organization is going to be. They're a remarkable string orchestra that plays at a really extraordinary level, and their repertoire will be both old and contemporary. And after them, our Portland Youth Wind Ensemble, which is our youngest group with winds, a lot of middle school students in there and a few younger high school students, with Giancarlo Castro Dardona, who comes to us from Venezuela and is also a remarkable composer whose work was played recently at the Hollywood Bowl. And after intermission, we hear our Portland Youth Conservatory Orchestra, which is a symphony orchestra slightly younger than the Portland Youth Philharmonic, who close the concert each year. And special to us with the PYP is that we'll have a guest conductor as part of our little set of pieces. Hugh Edwards, the third ever conductor of the Portland Youth Philharmonic, is returning to Portland for what he calls the Boxing Day concert, because he's from the UK. And he'll be conducting Brahms' Academic Festival Overture, which has been in the repertoire of the orchestra for nearly the entire 100 years. So having Hugh back is a very special treat. And I will be conducting a few lighter pieces by John Philip Sousa and Leroy Anderson's Plink Plank Plunk, and a brand new piece by James Stevenson that was written for the 100th anniversary of a different orchestra, one in Chicago. So it's based on the tune Chicago by Frank Fisher, which people have probably heard Frank Sinatra sing, and others of that sort. So we have a lot of fun. Some of the music is enjoyable to listen to, and it's great for them to see the intensity on the faces of those young people, and for the really young ones, for them to walk on stage still sort of looking around at this beautiful hall that they've never played in before. And it's a fun evening. It's great for families. If your family's visiting for the holidays and you're cooped up, it's a great way to get out.
There's so much going on right there. I can't imagine the amount of preparation and time that goes into that to prepare for all of that. But obviously, you know, you're all so very, very good at it, and that's something that everybody can go experience, like you mentioned, on December 26th for this 62nd annual concert. I think maybe the final thing I wanted to ask is just, what do you think is the most important thing for people of Portland and the Northwest in general to know about the Portland Youth Philharmonic Orchestra?
That concerts are ephemeral. You play them and they're over. It's true that many of our performances are on YouTube, and you can see them there and get some sense of what the quality of the orchestra is. An orchestra needs ears in the hall to listen to it play. That's what music needs. And everyone is, I think, in these difficult times that we're living in, looking to be inspired, especially by young people doing something positive and working together in harmony, seeing like a diverse group of musicians like the Portland Youth Philharmonic coming together to commit themselves to music that's brand new and also very old and everything in between. I think even if your normal listening is not orchestral music, it's an inexpensive and a delightful way to be introduced to some music you probably haven't heard before and understand that our community is really capable of producing some true excellence, both musically, and if you were to read the biographies of all the musicians, you'd be astounded at how much extra musical excellence they're achieving as well. So it's an organization that grew up here to lift the young people of Portland to achieve something of international quality, and has been doing so consistently for a long time. And if you've never heard them, you can only guess at what it's really like to be in the room with them.
Incredible. Well, David, thank you very much for joining me here and being on the show to talk about this. And thanks for all that you do, and just with the orchestra. And good luck coming up here with the big performance. Obviously, you're all going to be amazing, but that's a lot of hard work that goes into that. And really, really appreciate you spending some time with us here today.
Thank you, Greg. It's delightful to be here.
Thanks a lot. All right, David, have a good holiday.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we'll continue on here with Fox 12 Now, but that's just a really, interesting and inspiring story, hearing about that 100 years of the orchestra being there, 62nd annual concert, 5 conductors overall, and we just had one of them here on Fox 12 Now. So thank you very much for everybody for joining us. So we have more continuing on here with the show. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, you'll see this, and we'll be back around 1:30 or so talking about the Apple Vision Pro. We're going to switch over to talk about tech, something that's probably on some Christmas lists for people, but it didn't come out in time, but it's coming out soon. So we're going to discuss what that is and how this could maybe change up how we view virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. I'll explain all of that coming up here. So that's what it'll be at 1:30. If you're watching on the apps and our website, you'll see me continue on. I've got a little bit more for you there. So I'll be talking to you soon. Regardless, I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.